Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned into Relaks Radio. This is The Buzz with DJ Kings and Tim. We are your hosts for this afternoon, and we are going to be talking everything business, everything entrepreneurship, everything finance, and most importantly, last but not least, everything technology. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned in for something very good today. So have your ears peeled, sit back, relax, and listen to the sounds of our voices whilst we tell you how to save your money. This is The Buzz.
That's right. That's right. Thanks, Kings, for the intro. Now we're talking about we've got. I think both of us just learned that there's been quite a bit of tech wars going on with
Yeah.
regards to countries, and then you have companies. You have Apple, Microsoft. You have China, USA. So I think we have quite a bit to break down in on this conversation by itself.
Indeed,
Um,
yeah.
how now we when talking about how tech wars could be, you know relatively, I'd say tech wars, comparing tech wars to you know the traditional wars where people were actually
Yeah.
you know being killed and things like that. I think here we're talking about, it's relatively market share competition, just like
Yeah.
you have the price wars conversation. So if we're talking about tech wars, and if things start getting personal, how bad can it get?
Well, if things start getting personal, how bad could it get? Well, let me take a look at this from the
I
point
mean,
of
we have been talking about hacking, and we have been talking about
yeah,
how your mobile phones alone can expose so much of you if
yeah,
if even put into the wrong hands. So how
yeah.
bad is it? I mean, I don't want to even imagine honestly, but yeah.
Um, I mean, do you know what? I don't ever want it to get to the point of it reaching that bad because it could be terrible for everybody, not just the people involved. But let's when we look at wars, you've already said a general war where you see people end up dying and stuff like that, killing each other. If we're looking at technology wars, people can hack, as you've already mentioned, and you know what? We're not even just talking hacking of personal data or anything like that, or just things that you hold nearest and dearest to yourself. But then that means secrets of a rival company could even get exposed, and now it becomes a whole issue where now they just. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking outlandish here, but they want to get robots to go and attack them. Technology is just, I think it's just, maybe I'm just thinking way too far out of the box for this, but it
No,
could
I
get really
mean,
bad.
yeah. So I think these are a couple of good questions we came up with. Let's break it down in today's show. We've got China, Silicon Valley. The place is called
Yes.
Zhongchang, and
Yes.
they reach for metal parts, basically, and this is basically
Mm.
Huaqing Huaqing Bay Electronics, and
Yes.
yeah. So here, okay, there's basically an interview that has been done with a guy from Huaqing Bay, and then this part is from Shenzhen, China. Engineer is Zhong Chang, and these names, man. um, and
It is quite difficult to pronounce. I will be
yeah,
honest.
at least at speed. I mean, you're obviously gonna get. But okay, coming into how people understand what China Silicon Valley is. What
Yeah.
do these guys invest in? Now we know that they are big in the exports. They are very competitive. They're thinking generational performance, and
Yeah.
how they're slowly coming up to overtake the US in terms of exports or GDP.
Mm.
What how is the conversation for how is it going to be broken down in terms of the thousands of dollars? And there is a quote for the part in a factory that in the US that could be spoken around how uh, you know that you'd basically lead time maybe 2 or 3 weeks, but basically the same piece. They say that he this guy Zhao Chang is basically, he
Mm.
takes a piece of metal, and in the interview he talks about how you have a high quality piece in the States, obviously, but then you look at where things are coming from. Things are starting China is becoming a common exporter to almost to every country.
Yeah.
And regardless of where products are made from, regardless of where it is, regardless of who makes what,
Mm.
people sometimes eventually end up importing things that they can manufacture in their own country from China.
Mm.
Why? Because of the price competitive factor. In China, labor is really free, really cheap, considering their population,
Yeah.
and they're basically working on prototypes of, I'd say, copies of good items or items that function well. Now,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's not only that's what they're popular for, but talking about Apple and how Apple has a particular operation, an arm in China. If you haven't
Mm.
heard of Foxconn, Foxconn is basically the company that has partnered with China, and they undertake particular parts of the iPhone assembly or manufacturing. So if you actually, the days where you could actually take a battery out of a phone,
Yeah.
or if you actually look into the box of if you look into the box of a phone, any mobile phone,
Mm. Mm.
or even the earphones, it says made in China but assembled in California or something of that sort. You have
Yeah.
these. Yeah. So Foxconn is basically the company that manages the labor or the operations there. There's obviously a ton of agreements in terms of secrecy or non-disclosure in terms of how things are done, what is done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But why does there was a whole conversation as to how Donald Trump wanted to utilize. He wanted to bring back all these functions or these operations back into the states, because
Mm.
when Apple partners with someone in another country, they pay these guys to do that, and when they pay them, that's money moving out of the country. That is basically imports. When you import, that means you're buying something, right? So what
Mm.
Apple was doing is they were buying this service. But why
Mm.
didn't Apple really do it in the States? Why didn't Apple do it in the UK? Why didn't Apple do it in India or Australia? Because of the fact that Foxconn, like I said, labor charges were very cheap in China. So
Yeah.
it would be like that is a cost that Apple has to invest in regardless. But China was the place that they found the least expensive to get that product at that price. Yeah. So what, going down the line now, Chang, basically this guy Chang is basically building. He talks about how almost anything can be built to a particular style or particular um you know feature in China. It's
Mm.
given that it's just exposed to the market for a couple of days or months.
Yeah.
You're potentially solving problems for multiple industries. Now, like I said, you get the hardware, you get tangible solutions that can be mimicked or that can be copied in China. You get
Mm.
apparel, and if how much are a pair of Jordans?
Like I'd say 140.
Yeah,
140 to estimate 140.
I mean, you just walk on the streets of China and you get something for about 20,
Yeah.
and 20
Yeah.
pounds. And these guys, you go, if you actually go take the effort of negotiating with them, you get it for about 10 or even 8. So I mean, it's obviously not the same product. It's not
Yeah.
going to function the same. It's not going to be the same comfort. But
Mm.
to
Mm.
the layman, it's going to be the same thing. You get these Supreme bags also going. You get Louis Vuitton, you get the Gucci's, everything. But
Yeah.
that is how these guys function. That is how these guys
Mm.
create a market. That there are, because just like people spend on the real deal, there are
Mm.
people that want to look like they are up to that standard as well. So
Yeah.
I'd say that they want to flex on brands that they wear. So I mean, why not? Why would you ignore a market that wants that when you have such a big labor force and you have so many resources?
Yeah.
China is
Exactly.
basically a
Yeah.
killer in this industry. So
Yeah. I completely understand that. I mean, I don't see any reason why um a person wouldn't want to cater to a group of people that want that, and
yeah,
Along with that being said, I'm looking back onto the article itself talking about how was it China and US are actually becoming a superpower in the tech war. Um, well, it's that they're being a superpower in the tech war to win the 21st century. Who they are at war with, I'm not so entirely sure. But one thing I do know is that looking at this and looking at well, putting technology and war into the same conversation. I'm reading up on this article and it said that while the US had a long edge in tech that China is also catching up very quickly and they're investing heavily in AI, robotics, 5G and 6G. Like right now, we only just have 5G. 5G's only just come out recently. I don't even think there's been talks of 6G or even ideas being put into place for that. Not to mention they're also having microchips and surveillance technology. Now, you see, looking at the microchips, um, Elon Musk, when he created Neuralink, it's microchips that he's put inside of Neuralink, which are tapped into the brain, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen all of the conspiracy theories. Everybody was screaming about how the talks of the vaccine, people claim that the government are trying to control you, but then you've got Neuralink, which literally sits on your head, and
Yeah.
you don't think twice about the fact that that may potentially control you. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I
Mm,
mean, if it knows the ways, so this product is also at still, I'd say, at a research and development stage,
mm,
where the product is basically understanding how you as a person, or animals, anyone, right, with
mm,
emotion, with maneuvering your limbs, or your brain basically sends signals to the rest of your body, right? So
yeah,
what
yeah,
this chip right now is doing is it's studying your it's studying what type of waves are sent along to the rest of the body,
mm,
for what purpose. So now it's basically studying this, right? And the purpose of it, it always initiates with medical reasons. But
mm,
you know we actually have a decent amount of people tuned in today. If what if, Thanks for tuning in, by the way. If you are keen on understanding what the tech wars are, what China is, what US does, make sure you ask us in the comments here below. Make sure you can call us. You can call us on 07852 473 473. This is Tim and Kings on the Buzz. We're with you for probably the next hour, just talking about how US and China are going into a tech war. And coming back to the conversation, we were talking about Neuralink, how China is basically copying, or breaking down various other functions in terms of,
yeah.
I'd say, is copying the word, is it
I'd say more or less, not necessarily duplicating. Maybe I'd say
duplicating? Yeah, that
duplicating.
would be, yeah.
Yeah.
So coming into, yeah, talking about the 1980s. Now Shenzhen is a place in China
Mm,
that is called also the Silicon Valley of China. This was basically just a fishing village with fewer than 100,000 inhabitants, and today there's around 12.5 million residents here, and some of China's biggest tech titans are here, including Huawei. Now, Huagging Bay is, the world's largest electronics market. It's basically called the mecca of hardware. And, if you can build any type of electronic gadget there, all in one place and at scale, right? I'm saying, I'm just thinking of China and this Huagging Bay, Shenzhen, these places.
yeah.
I'm just looking at them. I'm just imagining it as, a resource hub where it, they basically say, this guy, the Chang, basically says that he thinks it's
Yeah.
really true as to what they say. A month in Shenzhen is basically similar to 4 months anywhere else in the world. With the majority of population here, China has 1 billion people here,
Mm,
and with this crowd, anywhere in the world would be, with this crowd, basically, if you had to survive in this crowd, you'd have to
yeah.
be more competitive. We talk about being a competitive company in, wherever. If Microsoft didn't have to compete, if
Yeah.
with Apple, Microsoft
Yeah.
wouldn't have evolved as fast if Apple didn't have to compete with Microsoft, vice versa. So imagine
We
having
also
so many
touched a bit
people.
on
Yeah,
Richard Branson and how he is technically in competition with Jeff Bezos, and
absolutely.
him planning his flight to space 2 days earlier. So yeah, there's competition there as well.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, speaking on that whole, it's literally so far, it's all with this technology war and everything, it's all just literally touching on competition. Everyone's trying to be the best, everyone's trying to achieve so much further. China right now, as we've already agreed on, that they are duplicating what the US is already doing in terms of technology, and possibly trying to step further than that, you know
yeah, yeah,
so with that being in turn, it's like that's where the whole title of the tech war comes in. They're trying to pretty much they're trying to set their own footing in stone, trying to get that
yeah.
technology duplicate and possibly even make it better than what US has already done. So yeah, other than that, touching on everything else I had already put forward, speaking on the microchips, we'd also spoken about Neuralink and the surveillance technology. US President Biden is planning a 330 billion package to rev up the US's investment in research and development, having noted
Yeah.
its strategic competition with China is nothing less than a battle to win the 21st century. So,
I
as you
mean,
can
yeah,
see,
this is just like when you talk about a trade war, you're talking about how companies or countries rather they compete with each other to come to a point where they are the more successful, or they dominate a particular market, dominate a particular industry. So that way, in terms of countries at this point, China does a lot of trades with the US. US does a lot of trades with China, including Foxconn, like I said. But if someone like Donald Trump doesn't want, I'd say, for example, this is one thing that happened during the last presidency in the US. He didn't like the fact that the states was given to China. He definitely knows more than I do in terms of trades and economy when it comes to those two countries. But primarily, how trade wars go is where if the states doesn't like trading with China, if the states doesn't like the dollar going to China, the states is going to put on a tariff or a tax in terms of what is imported from and things like that. That is partly the reason why Apple has started operations in India instead of China.
really,
Yeah, yeah. So we
oh,
know India is basically the next. India is up and coming. It's up and coming really fast. But India will be. They almost have a billion as well, almost a billion people as well. So they are growing real fast as well. It's as similar. The competition, the growth, the speed is a lot similar. So I'm just saying. I mean, Apple going there, Amazon has gone there. There's a lot of hope for India to actually become the next superpower in the world. But yeah, coming back to the topic, now Joe Biden, like you said, has planned a $330 billion package to rev up US's investment in R&D. You know,
yeah.
talking about a strategic competition with China, and this is nothing less than a battle to win the 21st century. Now, they might not exaggerate things like this to sound less petty, but we're talking about things like the two internets. We're talking about a rival financial system. We're talking about how people can be copycats or not, right? So
Yeah.
you know let's break it down further during the conversation after a quick break. Um,
Okay. Yep.
Stay tuned right here on the buzz. You're tuned in on Relax Radio. This is Tim and Kings on the show. We're breaking down how China and the States are coming into a tech war to dominate the 21st century. You can call us up on 07852 473 473. You can also comment on this video. Make sure you share this video with your friends that are interested in tech, that are interested in trade wars, or even tech conversations about China and the US. Yeah, like I said, you're tuning in on the buzz. We hope you're enjoying the show. Stay tuned, right, and stay locked in. Good afternoon.
one of the easiest ways to increase your net worth is to ensure that you have higher cash flows. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to not buy things on hire purchase, not buy things over months and months because you can't afford them now, but you want it. It's kind of that delayed gratification. Rather than buy that couch, that car, that stereo, that computer, whatever item, and pay it off over 12, 24, 36 months at an interest rate, rather invest that money, make do with what you've got, and then after 12, 24, 36 months, take the money that you've now invested and buy that good. An asset could be anything that appreciates or reduces a tax bill. So it could still be a liability, but it reduces their tax bill. And I'm not going to go into the technicalities because that's out of our remit here. However, for our use or our purpose, what we are talking for the listeners here is I would put this definition of an asset forward. An asset is anything that increases your income. Anything.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, if you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true, the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods. They're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK. The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you got to start with saying, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have to teach you the maths behind it, but you can say, okay, and if I get a 3% return and I put this away for how long will it take to reach my goal? And that's called just basic cash flow projection calculations. And it's what we use in financial planning all the time. What we say to clients is we say, okay, what is your goal? What is your objective? Where do you want to go to? And we discuss that in a lot of detail and over most of the meeting. And then the rest of it is saying, okay, in your exact circumstances, with your risk profile, with how you feel about investments and pensions and taxes and where you are and who you work with, and your education level or your lack of education or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account, and then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time. And we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. so that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million, and they're different. Right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so with different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies, and then you step up into different things.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. We are back from the break. You are tuned into Relaks Radio. This is The Buzz. You're here with DJ Kings and Tim, your host for this afternoon, talking technology, business, entrepreneurship, and finance. Ladies and gentlemen, keep those ears peeled and get tuned in for what we have for you in store today.
So coming back into the conversation with the tech wars, how US and China, as usual, just like the trade wars, they're coming into a point where it's this second internet. It's basically coming to compete with so basically I'd say China has their own internet, just like North Korea. But back in 2019, Mark Zuckerberg stood in front of Georgetown University and he sounded a warning, right? He said that China was developing an online world unfamiliar to those in the West, with its own values and platforms, right? Now, if someone like Mark Zuckerberg is warning you about something, you need to take it seriously, right?
Of course.
So, China is building its own internet focused on different values, and it's now exporting their vision of the internet to other countries. Chinese social media platform, WeChat, Alibaba Online, Baidu search engine, these are basically created with the cyberspace distinct from the dominated US tech titans such as Facebook, Amazon, and Google, right? Now, James Green, a former Minister for Trade Affairs at the US Embassy, had said that when China's internet divergence has a growth stage, they are going into a divergence, and this is underway currently. We will see it within the next decade. So we ourselves we talk like we're so sure about the future. We talk like we're so I'm just thinking, man. We talk like in 10 years time, this is where my company is going to be. This is where I'm going to be as a person. This is how people talk. But then what if there's a whole internet change? Given that there's so many industries that run along the internet. Where is it going to be? Now, the Chinese leadership had realized that there are some technologies that they don't want foreigners to get in familiar with. So what they're doing is they're starting to squeeze people out. Now, platforms like Facebook, Google, have been banned. And the communist government have created a protected market for Chinese tech firms that would unwillingly submit to Beijing's political demands. I'm just seeing, with this whole conversation of where this whole second internet thing is going, what's the intention? When we talk about different values, what's the whole roundup? What's the purpose? Because you see how ByteDance came to take up in just about 3 years or so, right? They came to a point where they designed an app that's TikTok now, and they became half the net worth of Instagram in just about a fraction of time that Instagram took to come to that point. what's stopping them from making another internet that will compete with Google down the line?
I mean, if I'm honest, I don't think there's anything that can really hold them back from doing that. The only thing is, we look at something like Google. Google is probably one of the most It's probably one of the most I can't find the word. Let's just say that Google is one platform that has integrated the lives of many. Like it's not, it was created in US but has been spread all over the world. As in, you'll get Google in every single country, every single location, and it's there for everybody to be able to use. Like literally, it's the world's library,
Yeah.
for everything you may need to find that isn't in books already. So whether it is that, I don't know if there's anything that's actually realistically stopping China from creating another Google, or creating another search engine that can be on par with Google, because nowadays in terms of search engines we have things like Yahoo search, we have things like Ask Jeeves, we have things like Bing, we even have Bing.
Those
We have so many.
Ask.com.
Yeah, there's so many search engines nowadays that have been made ever since Google was created, and it all stemmed from Google. This was the idea that Google gave. They created a search engine for themselves. They created a whole library of things, and all of these other search engines followed suit. Now, when it comes to China, I feel as though, given the type of country that they are, in terms of how they control everything that the public is able to see, what they can do, pretty much
It's
robots.
very manipulative. Simply.
Yeah, very
Straight up.
manipulating. So with the thought of them wanting to create their own type of Google or their own type of search engine is, well, in my opinion, just another way to be able to keep all the people in that country under control. Like, just to control everything that they see, everything that they do, so that they don't get any ideas. Just like North Korea, who we spoke about yesterday, that don't see anything that goes outside of the borders of North Korea. They can only see what's inside of North Korea, and that's it.
We're basically talking about a decided bias and no freedom of speech. Simply that.
Literally. So just like that, looking onto China, I feel as though if they were to create their own Google, that's exactly what they're planning on doing. Just trying to make sure that they keep control of the country and they don't lose that control. Because, just like North Korea, just like we had spoken yesterday, if one of those channels have managed to get outside of China, anyone in China, if those channels managed to get outside of China, if there was any type of exposure to actually reach outside to a different parts, just outside of the country, which isn't China, reach out to somewhere that they would still be able to reach and make their voices known, then the government in China will fear losing control of the people, because they know that outside of the country, there's more to what goes on than inside of China, So, yeah, literally, it's just a possibility. And I think that with this search engine, that's all they plan on doing. Just continuing to maintain control of all the people that live and inhabit China.
Like now, there was this rocket that basically went to space, a Chinese rocket that went to space. It had basically failed, and then it had there was debris rotating around the planet in the stratosphere, and eventually it came back crashing down very close to Maldives. So looking at these, now there are international space laws and things that are starting to be implemented. There's a whole other industry by itself. But the reason I spoke about it is because in terms of satellites, in terms of internet, in terms of technological ecosystems, China is working real hard to make up their own internet as well. Now, all you need, for a country to basically, to come to a point where they, I'd say as of now, the US, if they really wanted to, they would have majority of the world's information, and information meaning names, gender, what their interests are. But they know, the saying, knowledge is power, and just like that, information is as well, right?
Yes, information is powerful.
We saw how Trump manipulated with the Cambridge Analytica conversation. We saw how Trump manipulated the elections. But for a country so strong in terms of GDP, a country that is basically coming to a point where they are competing with the US, they're just tipping off the US in terms of exports, becoming the biggest country with logistical power, with exports and GDP comparison. If
Yeah.
these guys are going to become as strong as this in terms of information on people, in terms of technological reach to people, and they'll be calling the shots on the world, like in the end of the day.
Definitely. I know that there's been some moments in time where I felt like China are pretty much out to take over control of the whole world. And do you know what? Nowadays, with the way technology is moving forward, a part of me has that small fear that keeps growing that maybe this might be the case, you know? Speaking of which, looking back onto China, there you are. I thought you disappeared on me. No, speaking on China, there was actually something with the UK as well. It turns out that a British national security advisor was looking into the sale of a major UK chip manufacturer to a Chinese-owned firm. Now, this particular chip was called the Newport Wafer Fab, and the Newport Wafer Fab is a silicone and CS company, which is now owned by a Chinese business, I believe. It's now owned by China and within the Chinese government. And this was sold from a Wales owner. So Wales used to own this, and it was sold from Wales to China. The prime minister had even raised concerns, saying that he has to we have to judge whether the stuff that they are making is of real intellectual property value and interest to China, whether there are real security implications. Yeah. So as you can see, it's flagged up some sort of concerns for, the prime minister and the people in the House of Parliament. And
go ahead, Kings. My bad.
Yeah, literally. So literally, it's just flagged up concerns. So now people are looking into the fact that currently, I feel as though a lot of people can't really trust China because we don't know where to put our trust in. Recently we've had cyberspace watchdogs looking into Didi. Now we've also had the fact that Twitter, Google, and what's the third one? Facebook are looking at China to let them know, like, we are going to terminate this connection if this is what you're planning to do with personal data. Now we have this. So really, truly, what is China's end game here?
I don't really think people will ever know what the end game is there, but they do seem to have the speed. They do seem to have the know-how and how to reach which part of the countries or which part of the world that they want to. Because, middle points, they are, let's say, for example, logistics. Then the reason Trump basically had a big issue with China, with Huawei launching 5G in the States is because Huawei is, like we said, it's a part of Shenzhen. And with the 5G conversation, there are stories of how it might be relatively dangerous in terms of radiation for people, in terms of, understanding how people can, there were concerns according to safety, according to how fast the data can finish, overheating of different objects. That was one concern. But what Trump's main concern was, why is Huawei coming to the States and, implementing 5G, whereas, the States should be doing this? Because if they really wanted to, again, they could actually monitor what was going on the internet.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah, we'll basically break it down here as well with Google Android OS, and then we'll talk about, Harmony OS. We'll break it down further. Stay tuned right here on The Buzz. Kings, what do we got to do if anyone wants to get in touch with us or ask us questions?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get in touch with us, you already know you got to drop your comments down below. Make sure you drop a comment and let us know what it is that you want to talk about. Let us know what you want to be able to interact with us. If you feel as though you do not want to drop a comment, feel free to contact us through the number. And I believe that is 07582473473. That again is 07582473473. Contact us through WhatsApp. Drop us a comment and let us know what you want to hear us talk about.
That's right. So coming into the last talk segment, we'll be talking about how Huawei and different operating systems are, coming to a rivalry with each other in the States and in the States versus China, and also a quick brief on the financial system conversation. Stay tuned right here. You're on the buzz with Tim and Kings as usual. Talking about business, tech, entrepreneurship. This is Relaks Radio. Good afternoon.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you got to start with saying, well, what do I want my net worth to be? So that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have to teach you the maths behind it, but you can say, okay, and if I get a 3% return and I put this away for how long will it take to reach my goal? And that's called just this basic cash flow projection calculations. And it's what we use in financial planning all the time. What we say to clients is we say, okay, what is your goal? What is your objective? Where do you want to go to? And we discuss that in a lot of detail and over most of the meeting. And then the rest of it is saying, okay, in your exact circumstances, with your risk profile, with how you feel about investments and pensions and taxes and where you are and who you work with, and your education level or your lack of education or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account, and then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time, and we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million, and they're different. Right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies, and then you step up into different things. One of the easiest ways to increase your net worth is to ensure that you have higher cash flows. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to not buy things on hire purchase, not buy things over months and months because you can't afford them now, but you want it. It's kind of that delayed gratification. Rather than buy that couch, that car, that stereo, that computer, whatever item, and pay it off over 12, 24, 36 months at an interest rate, rather invest that money, make do with what you've got, and then after 12, 24, 36 months, take the money that you've now invested and buy that good. An asset could be anything that appreciates or reduces a tax bill. So it could still be a liability, but it reduces their tax bill. And I'm not going to go into the technicalities because that's out of our remit here. However, for our use or our purpose, what we are talking for the listeners here is I would put this definition of an asset forward. An asset is anything that increases your income. Anything.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, if you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true, the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods. They're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends, and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back from the break. You are tuned into Relaks Radio. This is The Buzz with your hosts, DJ Kings and Tim. We are talking everything finance, entrepreneurship, everything business, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, technology. Ladies and gentlemen, keep your ears peeled. We have been talking about currently China and their race to control of the world, apparently. So stay tuned and please enjoy.
That's right. So coming to the last talk segment of the day, where basically we broke down, how Shenzhen and how the US are basically coming into the Silicon Valley versus Shenzhen competition, how Huawei, how China is building their own internet and their own ecosystem that basically the values are different. Now, my concern is, why do people keep going with TikTok regardless of how how they know that it's a Chinese app or the company is from China? Now, at the end of the day, people will always care about them. So people will always care about the earth or what the majority population. But more than that, they're going to care about themselves, right? So
of course,
let's say, for example, you have the choice of working relatively hard maybe and building yourself up on, this is just TikTok based, right? But working hard and building up your Instagram, whereas you can get 10x organic reach on TikTok. Why would you spend time on Instagram? That's so things like this will be reasons as to why China's internet could possibly come to a point where they compete with Google. And you never know until it really happens. So, talking about a rival financial system, talking about the global financial system that is, emerging between, it's basically we are basically seeing a tech war with US and China here. If there is more, concerns around how their internet is coming into play, how their tech is coming into play, the duplicates are coming into play. And if the Biden administration chooses, it could sanction or cut off Chinese banks and corporations from international financial markets, causing immense damage to the Chinese economy. That is one. But what the Chinese also have done is apparently that they've taken off the dollar off their exchange. So they basically don't trade anymore with regards to dollars. The dollar is a common currency, right? So let's say, for example, if China wants to import from somewhere, they're not necessarily dependent on how many dollars something costs. They might work in either euros or yuans. So for a key control every day, $5 trillion is transferred, in the world using this system. And that this is basically the Swift International Payment Network that US controls in terms of finance. And when coming into TikTok, right now, with digital currency, with people in Myanmar, Vietnam, Laos, people can basically download money. This is cryptocurrency, right? And you can basically you can basically utilize your own Chinese digital currency and use it for trade immediately. Talking about things like talking about things in the lines of performance, or where TikTok is coming into play. ByteDance is you know ByteDance's app is TikTok. You have multiple products of Nestle. It's not just you might not just get one particular product. You get multiple products of Nestle. So ByteDance's app is TikTok, and locally it's known as Diowin, and they became target under the Trump administration for reasons, and that this was feared that this app will be used to expose people's private data in Beijing. Now, there were, if you are not too familiar with, there were border control or border problems with China and India. We know China is just above India, and in the border where between in the what's the mountain range? Is it
the mountain ranges?
The Himalayas, right? So somewhere around there.
I believe so. Yeah, the Himalayas. Yeah.
Yeah. So somewhere around there were basically border issues. They had tanks and soldiers coming through and actually coming into shuffles. So basically, for this reason, India basically banned the app TikTok in the Indian market and took off quite a significant arm or potential of growth in India. So let's say, for example, if TikTok went off in the States as well, why wouldn't they would lose a lot of clout as well, or power.
100%, 100%.
So it's as similar. I mean, it's just a matter of asking why the US didn't do that if they really are concerned about the citizens, I'd say privacy, or privacy to that level. Now, avoiding US oversight and US sanctions, this cryptocurrency infrastructure has developed in China. The US could potentially, possibly, lose the ability to monitor or sanction cryptocurrency. So coming into the last bit of it, people are not necessarily. Now, Shenzhen apparently is not, looking to just have a little impact on the pace of Chinese innovation. From an engineering or technical standpoint, this engineer has basically said in an interview that they are the center of everything that's made in the physical world. And an American entrepreneur, this is Garnet Winter, who has a portfolio of 200 startups in the high-tech club. This guy is saying things like this. Now, 2 years ago, China had raised a significant milestone, surpassing the US for the number of global patents that it filed for the first time. Now, China has registered nearly 60,000 patents, which is just 1,000 more than the US, and majority of them come from surprise, Shenzhen.
Indeed. As we can see, as we are speaking right now, China is literally the number one manufacturer for majority of things that the whole world already has. So let's say for example, with TikTok, for example, you're talking about how comes it hasn't been banned yet in the US. One thing I'll say is that I do remember the reports saying that Donald Trump wants it banned in the US, but what it is that they made it unavailable to be able to download on their app store. To my knowledge, they made it unavailable to download on the app stores and Google Play in the US. But for the majority of people that still had the app are still able to use it. They're still able to make their posts and this one and that one whilst they are still in the US. So it's not that they haven't banned it. It's not that they haven't banned it because they've prevented it from being able to be downloaded, but people still have the app. In order to be able to get past that, I don't know. I feel like it has to get so much deeper than just, banning the app from being downloaded. Maybe they have to go through everybody's phones and take the app off immediately. Who knows? And I know that they are capable of doing it because they can update apps directly straight from your phone without you having to give permission.
It's a matter of controlling the internet, and from the internet, what you do is you basically reduce the possibility to access anything in the lines of TikTok URLs. Given that your IP address is from whichever geolocation, so that is how people use. That is why people also could use VPNs to show that their IP address is from, let's say the Europe or Australia to get access to, TikTok URLs.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously, with that being said, also being able to
only see in time. Yeah, we'll only see in time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and so far time has been shown a lot in terms of technology and everything else. So who's to say it might show so much more within even a shorter period of time? No, it doesn't have to be over a decade. It might even be within 5 years. Who knows?
For sure.
But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the show. We have come down to the end of the buzz, talking to you about everything to do with today's segment, which was China and everything technology based. So as you know, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to contact us from the number 07582473473. That is 07582473473. Feel free to contact us. There's the number right there. So make sure, ladies and gentlemen, you get a hold of that. Contact us. Let us know what you want us to speak about on the show. Remember, we are streaming from YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and on here
Instagram,
too. So,
everything works.
And Instagram. So everything.
This is Tim and Kings on the Buzz. We hope to see you tomorrow for the last day of the week. Talking about everything business, tech, entrepreneurship, and finance. Just like King says, tell a friend, tell your pets.
Yep.
What's the other quote, King?
Don't forget that we're here to make sure that we keep your finances high and your problems low.
Absolutely. So 100%.
Other than that, ladies and gentlemen,
we'll catch you tomorrow on Friday's edition of The Buzz. Good afternoon.